Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright guys, well here's a concept that we've never talked about before. We've never tackled this issue before because it's never come up. It's just so rare. Of course you can sense the sarcasm in my voice. The topic of today's video: far lefty big government Democrats acting like authoritarians trying to use the federal government to crack down on their political opposition. Essentially far left big government Democrats pushing American society closer and closer to a dystopian police state. Who would have seen that one coming? Definitely not this guy. Well, finally we have some closure to this whole Merrick Garland DOJ in collusion with the NSBA, the National School Board Association. Of course, their plot to go after concerned parents as, quote, domestic terrorists. It seems as though we finally have closure, we finally have all of the facts, and it turns out, once again, a total surprise. Who would have seen this one coming? Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, and the rest of these dishonest Democrats are absolute liars, and pretty much everything they said they didn't do, well, guess what? They did. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We have another massive bombshell document drop. But of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we have this lengthy Twitter thread released a couple days ago by Chuck Ross, an investigative reporter at the Washington Free Beacon. And so here it is. National School Boards Association releases report on its review of the infamous, quote, domestic terrorism letter. Reading now, but NSBA acknowledges failures. Chip Slavin, the now former CEO of the NSBA, provided the White House a preview of the letter on September 21st, a week before its release. Over the next several weeks, Mr. Slavin coordinated the efforts of Mrs. Rigsby and Mrs. Mello to produce the letter. Simultaneously, Mr. Slavin continued discussions with the White House through Mrs. Wall on the topics contained in the letter. On September 14th, 2021, Mr. Slavin conferred with Mrs. Wall on a call where she requested NSBA's list of, quote, egregious examples of alleged school board threats and disruptions. On September 21st, 2021, pursuant to Mrs. Wall's request, Mr. Slavin provided the White House with an advanced summary of the letter's contents and its list of requests for federal intervention, along with the previously requested list of, quote, egregious examples, so White House officials could include the planned contents of the letter in discussions with Department of Justice officials on September 22nd, 2021, although other NSBA staffers do not appear to have interacted with the White House or other administration officials directly regarding that letter. And so now essentially we have confirmation of what we've previously reported, that the CEO of the NSBA for weeks was having back and forth discussions with the White House as they plotted together and colluded together to create this narrative of domestic extremist threats at school board meetings from concerned parents. DHS requested a meeting with NSBA on October 1st to get more info on the allegations from the letter. Biden phoned NSBA President Viola Garcia to thank her. She was later appointed to a Department of Education advisory post. On October 1st, the Department of Homeland Security requested a meeting with NSBA staff regarding the letter and NSBA's request for federal assistance. Although DHS requested a meeting directly with NSBA staff, and the meeting was at one point scheduled for October 21st, this meeting was eventually canceled. On October 4th, the Attorney General issued a memorandum in response to the letter promulgating a series of measures designed to address the rise in criminal conduct directed towards school board personnel. On the same day, Mrs. Wall requested the personal phone numbers of Mr. Slavin and Dr. Garcia. The next day, on October 5th, 2021, President Biden called Dr. Garcia and thanked her for letting him know about what was happening at the local level, and Dr. Garcia discussing the letter on television. The reaction to the letter from non-officer members of the NSBA's board was mixed. Evidence showed mostly negative reactions from NSBA membership, the public, and the media. Prior to the reaction to the letter, 2 state associations had suspended their membership, and 8 states were considering whether to renew their membership. By November 5th, 7 state associations had terminated their memberships. Of course, we've covered all of that. And here's where it gets truly spicy. We just received an early draft of the letter, which shows that Mr. Slavin and the NSBA did in fact ask the administration to use the National Guard and military police at certain school board meetings. meetings. Mr. Slavin decided to remove the following language. Further, in egregious circumstances and via coordination with local and state authorities, we ask that the Army National Guard and its military police be deployed to certain school districts and related events where students and school personnel have been subjected to acts and threats of violence. Mr. Slavin, through Mrs. Mello, directed that the use of the word intervention be changed to assistance in the headline, and throughout the letter, Mr. Slavin was concerned that intervention would draw a negative reaction from some. Notably, in his interview, Mr. Slavin expressed that he edited the letter to clarify that the request to utilize the Patriot Act was not with regard to Al-Qaeda or foreign adversaries, but with regard to the fact that we were concerned over folks here in this country. And so it seems as though this doesn't exactly jive with what we heard from Merrick Garland's on-the-record testimony in front of the Senate.
Does that seem like an act of domestic terrorism that you or your Justice Department ought to be investigating?
Absolutely not, and I want to be clear. The Justice Department supports and defends the First Amendment right of parents to complain as vociferously as they wish about the education of their children, about the curriculum taught in the schools. That is not what the memorandum is about at all, nor does it use the words domestic terrorism or Patriot Act. Like you, I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorism.
He claimed that he could not imagine any circumstance that parents complaining about their school boards would be labeled as domestic terrorists, or that the Patriot Act would be mentioned. But that's exactly what happened. The White House was in cahoots, directly working with the NSBA to draft this letter. Joe Biden personally thanked Mrs. Garcia from the NSBA and then appointed her to a position of power in his Department of Education, and the initial draft even called to deploy military police and mentioned the Patriot Act to confront concerned parents at school board meetings. You see what I was talking about in the intro? With these far-left big government Democrats and their authoritarian tendencies, and their push to literally turn the country into a police state? I wasn't exactly exaggerating. And Attorney General Merrick Garland is once again caught in another lie during his sworn testimony. Now we have an even bigger scandal. House Republicans obtained whistleblower documents showing the FBI used the counterterrorism unit to add, quote, threat tags to parents raising concerns about CRT to school boards. This contradicts Merrick Garland's sworn October testimony before Congress. Garland testified that the DOJ and its components were not using counterterrorism statutes and resources to target parents who protest at school board meetings. We have once again a smoking gun. This from the House Judiciary GOP. Smoking gun. Whistleblowers reveal the FBI has labeled dozens of investigations into parents with a threat tag created by the FBI's counterterrorism division. We have learned from brave whistleblowers that the FBI has opened investigations with the Edu officials threat tag in almost every region of the country and relating to all types of educational settings. The information we have received shows how, as a direct result of your directive, federal law enforcement is using counterterrorism resources to investigate protected First Amendment activity. For example, one investigation began following your directive. The FBI's field office interviewed a mom for allegedly telling a school board, "We are coming for you." The complaint, which came into the FBI through the National Threat Operations Center snitch line, alleged that the mom was a threat because she belonged to a, quote, right-wing moms group known as Moms for Liberty, and she is, quote, a gun owner. So apparently now, to be labeled as a potential terrorist, you need to be part of a scary right-wing group known as Moms for Liberty, real scary stuff, and a constitutional gun owner. That seems like a pretty big chunk of the population now, doesn't it? "We are coming for you" could mean a million different things. This idea that these moms are terror threats is absurd. There's a bunch of other examples here, all just as ridiculous, but just think about it. The FBI is investigating concerned parents for being conservative gun owners who are unhappy with CRT in the public education system. Meanwhile, individuals with real, serious, repetitive red flags are essentially ignored or cleared by the FBI and then go on to commit heinous violent acts over and over again. Just recently in Buffalo and before that in Brooklyn, both individuals known to the FBI. I mean, what an absolute joke, and the double standard. This is what the FBI is focused on when it comes to political extremism. The bar is so low when it comes to conservatives. Meanwhile, these far lefty activists continue to feel emboldened, and their actions are even justified and encouraged by the current White House to go intimidate Supreme Court justices outside of their homes and commit acts of arson, calls to violence on the internet, you name it. The FBI could not care less. But a concerned mom who said something as vague as "we're coming for you," I mean, that could literally mean anything. Most likely what it means is we're going to vote you out of the school board. That's instantly considered a terror threat because right-wing, liberty, and executing your constitutional right to own a firearm, well, those are some real scary red flags. Absolutely ridiculous. Merrick Garland is a liar. He should resign. These corrupt, big government, big state, policed state Democrats continue to get exposed for their abuse of power and their politicizing of federal law enforcement agencies. It's despicable. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.